Welcome to Adventures in Surgical Weight Loss with Dr. R. I'm Dr. Richard Rasmussen. I'm a bariatric surgeon and excited to bring you another story from a surgical weight loss patient. My goal is to give patients a place where they can share their amazing stories. I get to hear these stories all the time. I hope through this process to get rid of some of the bad information that exists about surgical weight loss. Today I had the opportunity to sit down with Jennifer Peterson. Very interesting story. She had some significant health challenges which led her to weight loss surgery, and it's been a big change and a big benefit in her life, and I think you really enjoy getting to know her. Welcome, Jennifer.
Thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
Happy to do it. So why don't you tell us your story?
Okay, so historically, I was never really that ideal of a heavy candidate and stuff. All throughout high school, I was very athletic. Dance classes, running, very, very athletic. Worked on a farm and stuff, so I never really worried about the term weight. Everybody always kept telling me I was thin, muscle, great. And then when you get out of high school, your body changes, and so does your habits. So in high school, you can drink Mountain Dew and not even worry about it. After high school, you get married. I stopped doing any exercise altogether. I started having a family, so that even slowed down any desire to do any exercise. And my eating habits just kind of took over. A lot of eating out, a lot of not even watching portions or anything. I assumed I could burn it off when I was younger, so I assumed I could do it when I was older, and it did not work out that way. After my second child, I've only had 2 kids, but after my second child, I felt like I was heavy, but not excessively heavy. But then I just continued to not really watch my health habits and stuff. And then COVID struck, and that took a beating on my body. My body was already poor in health. I had asthma, but pulmonary related due to weight. And then I ended up with COVID and ended up in the ICU for 2 weeks.
Wow.
Yeah. And so during that time, I was on the high flow machine is what they call it. And they pretty much told me you need to get out of bed or you're going to be intubated. So during that time also, they gave me a series of Lasix and steroids, and that threw me into diabetes also. So at that point, that was kind of my breaking point of, oh my gosh, one, I don't want to be here and I want to go home. So thankfully, I was able to go home. Had to learn how to start dosing insulin. My family does have a health history of diabetes and stuff, but that steroids really swung me right into it pretty quick, and with also my health habits. So that started the biggest journey of let's really get healthy. My O2 saturations were fair to poor. They'd usually stay around in the low 90s and stuff. I'd have to wear oxygen at night. You do the CPAP. I felt like I was 100 years old, even though I'd only just barely turned 40. So that was a big eye opener. I really wasn't, I could do things and stuff, like I could go on walks and be mobile and stuff, but I couldn't keep up with my kids. As my kids were starting to get older, they had longer legs, they could run, they could, endurance. The endurance was not there and stuff. So I've done multiple different meal plans, the Optavia, I think they call it, Weight Watchers, Curves. You hire a personal trainer and stuff. So I started doing all of that. And then ultimately, someone at work had said, our insurance covers weight loss surgery. And I'm like, ooh, that's too, oh, what do you want to say? Like too
drastic?
Too drastic, too intense. Yeah. And stuff. And I'm like, ooh, I am not doing that. And then I went home and talked to my husband about it. And he's like, well, maybe and stuff. And I'm like, oh, I don't know. So I looked at the requirements through health insurance, and sadly, I hit most of them with my BMI, with my pulmonary, with my diabetes. I didn't ever have hypertension or anything and stuff, but I was just like, wow, I'm sick, but like it's
Yes.
a different kind of chronic sick. So that was another wake up call of being told that you're sick. So anyway, so I started the process through my insurance and what they required and stuff, and then ultimately met you. So and then decided to just with education and stuff decided to go ahead with a gastric bypass. So that's kind of my historic of how I ended up to meet you. So
So definitely some big issues in your life, having COVID, developing diabetes, some real significant health issues. Um, have you seen those things change, improve? What's been the result of all of that?
Um, the result's been remarkable. My biggest thing for the bariatric surgery is to get rid of diabetes, just because with my family, I have seen the end stages of diabetes and the decubitus ulcers and the breakdown and amputations and stuff. And I was like, oh, I don't want that for myself, but I don't want my kids to have to learn how to flush out a PICC line or, you know what I'm saying? Like different things like that. And so,
And I'm just going to interject for a second.
yeah,
You bring up a couple of things that I think maybe a lot of people really don't understand, and that's kind of the end consequences of diabetes.
yes,
You mentioned limb amputations from vascular disease, the ulceration of tissue again because you're not getting good blood flow, kidney failure,
yes,
another common thing, blindness,
yes.
another common thing. So all consequences of diabetes.
Right. Yeah. And so yeah, so diabetes was my biggest thing. And I had to be on not a lot of inhalers, but two different inhalers, just like your classic albuterol and then your Symbicort and stuff. Again, one for exercise and one for just a daily treatment and stuff. And I was really shocked because right like 3 weeks before I had my surgery with you, I went to my primary care physician and he said, "Okay, let's take you off the metformin." He goes, "I feel like you're well enough controlled. We're gonna just taper you off since you're having your surgery anyway." So I was like, okay. So I was like, I hope I can keep my sugars under control. And so that was the last time I ever took metformin. I have not been back on. My last A1C check was 4.7.
Awesome.
So yeah, and then the one I think we do it 6 months. I can't remember how it goes now, but yeah. So my 6 months it was like 5.1, 5.2. I mean, it dropped and stuff, and so I'm no longer on any medication. The most next exciting thing for me was pulmonary. I no longer see a pulmonologist. I do not see, I don't take any Symbicort. I still have an albuterol just for hanging around, but honestly, I'm pretty sure it's expired at this point. So I haven't even used it and stuff. And it's kind of nice. Like I've gone hiking and I don't feel labored breathing. I can breathe, I can do things now and stuff. And so that has been extremely exciting to me. I mean, the weight loss is a big thing, but the other, core morbidities that you get and stuff, it's just they're obsolete. And so I
That's
hope to
fantastic.
continue on that path. So
That's great. Congratulations.
thank you.
Just it sounds like, as you mentioned, diabetes was a big issue for you. I might just point out, you would have been what we would classify as mild type 2 diabetes, meaning it was early onset. You were on a single medication, and you ended up choosing a gastric bypass, which is one of the best operations we have for reversing type 2 diabetes, particularly mild type 2 diabetes, and 90+% chance of remission and long-term remission, beyond 12 years remission. So
Nice.
that's would have played into the discussion we had. It was over a year ago, wasn't it?
It was over a year ago, and it sounded almost like an exact echo from last year.
Maybe I've said that one or two times.
But it's the truth. It was, yeah. I mean, I am tickled pink not to have to take the medication.
That's great.
Yeah.
How has it affected your family, your kids, your husband, the home environment?
So that has been, ooh, that's been tricky. So I have a daughter who is, at the time she was 13, but now she's 14. And so I wanted to be very sensitive with this subject around her because at that age, it is a sensitive subject anyways for any girl. And so that she asked a lot of questions because I mean, portions, first of all, when you first get out of surgery, your things are so on a microscopic level almost, and so that was really like she'd always tell me like, "Oh, you're not eating," and I'm like, "Actually, I am eating and stuff." And so, and then the other thing I really had to tiptoe around when people kept seeing me, they're like, "Oh, you're so skinny," and I'm like, "Let's not use the word skinny. We're not using the word skinny or fat in our family anymore. We are using healthy, not healthy, or there could be alternative choices of healthy, And so
Yeah.
that one was a big that was like probably the like side mark of where I was like, ooh, do I get this surgery? Because I do not want it to affect my daughter in a negative way, like saying you have to be a certain size and stuff. And so I just kept telling her, I need to get rid of my diabetes. I need to get rid of my oxygen, or you not get rid of my oxygen, but get rid of my pulmonary issues and stuff. Um, and she could actually see the change. Like she could tell like I wasn't like going home and sleeping and taking a nap after I got off work. And she could tell that I was more there, and stuff. My son, he's a tease. He's a wrestler. And so at 17, you know everything. And as a wrestler, you know even more. So he would tell me that I need to up my protein, and I'm like, okay, this is my guidelines for my doctor. I will explode if you want me to get 200 grams of protein down me in one day. So he was really supportive. He was excited. I also have two stepkids, and my stepson was just a huge side support and stuff. He'd be like, oh my gosh, I can't believe how much you change, every time he'd see me. And I'm like, and so he'd always make sure that he was like, you feel healthy, or you look like you feel healthy. And I'm like, I do, and so he was really, really good. My husband at first, I think it was a little bit hard, not like real hard for us, but we had to figure out how to do dating all over again because you usually go and wine and dine each other, and be like, get all fancy, go to the restaurant and have a smorgasbord of food and stuff. And we couldn't do that anymore. Like we couldn't go out and have sushi for the first little bit, and stuff. And so it was tricky because he liked to have that dating experience. And I'm like, we can go get an ice cream cone and I'll have 2 licks and I'll be fine, and stuff. And so that was a game changer. And then when I could actually start eating like bringing back in the vegetables and all that kind of stuff, that was a little bit easier. And so we would go to restaurants and stuff. And I would never order off a kid's meal just because I could make chicken nuggets at home. Do you know what I'm saying? Like I'm not making chicken nugget, or I'm not buying chicken nuggets. And so when we went to the restaurant, like we'd either share a plate or, like learn how to adapt and stuff. And it turned out really much better. So like my family does love sushi, and I mean I can now have like rice and different things like that. But the diet desire's like pretty low. And so I'll just do the sashimi or however you pronounce it, and I'm content, and stuff. So ironically, I think it's actually seeing my husband or seeing me over this last year. My husband, he has also had some health problems due to weight and stuff. And he has actually just barely started his journey 2 weeks ago. So we're going to be kind of sharing that together now. And so I look forward to that moment and stuff. But this last year, it's been a learning curve and stuff. As far as dinners, I usually make dinners at home, right? Or I'm the one that makes the dinners. So you kind of eat what I'm eating. So that's been easy.
That's great. Do you think that's helped your kids with learning to understand food and healthy food and choices and those kinds of things?
I think so. I definitely didn't want to be what's like that stigma of called like an almond mom, where we're only, and stuff. But, and again, I want my kids to understand things need to go in moderation. Do you know what I'm saying? If you want some Oreos, don't have the whole package. You know what I'm saying? Like,
Yes.
Get a glass of milk, get 2 or 3, and then put it away, But then we do focus more on like protein as a base of the meal, and then more complex carbs and stuff like that. And sometimes it's tricky because when you're a teenager, honestly, you just eat garbage. So, but I really do. And like I said, in our household, we don't like say skinny or fat. Like that's just not a word we use. And then we just say like healthy or not as healthy choices, because nobody's perfect, So
No, that's a great point, and I think that's a theme that I hear a lot from patients is they always say I'm not perfect, and I guess that's supposing there is a perfect definition. Um, but living in the environment we live in with all of the different food options or food stuff options, it can be tricky, and especially holiday times, everything that's available, and so. I try to emphasize with patients that it's just, if 90% of the time you're doing it the right way, then that gives you the freedom that, that other small percentage that, you can live and be involved in whatever activity.
oh, for sure, 100% agree with that. Yeah, we always and like kind of I always say with people like progress over perfection, So as long as you're moving in the right trajectory.
I love that you brought up Oreos. Actually, Oreo is a favorite cookie of mine, and I've used it in some presentations before because if you look at the history of Oreos over time, it's just crazy. And now the number of varieties that they
Oh,
are is outstanding. And if you wanted to try every single variety, you just be eating Oreos forever. But one time with my kids, we were sitting down and there were some Oreos, and we were comparing Oreos to grapes. And an Oreo has about 70 calories per cookie. And so we calculated that you could eat 3 cookies for 210 calories, and a grape has about 3 calories per grape. So
oh
you could
my
eat
word.
70 grapes for the same 3 Oreos you were eating. And it was a
Oh,
good, I think, understanding for them to, there is a difference there.
that is really neat. But yeah, there is a big difference. It has been interesting. Like I definitely wouldn't say I'm a food snob now, but I've always been a people watcher and stuff. And like I just remember we went to Texas Roadhouse a while ago, and I think it was for Mother's Day. And so I still wasn't ready to, well, I'm still never ever ready to eat like a whole steak or whatever. But, so I just ordered my little whatever I was content with. And I was watching people as they were sitting down, and it's interesting how different people eat and what the consumption rate we do. And I think it's just such a mindless eating, it's turn on the TV or get a conversation going and just eat. And so there was one family that kind of stood out to me because they got the Texas House or the Texas Roadhouse rolls like everybody does, and they had ordered some gravy to go with it, and I didn't know they had gravy, but I thought they got their salad before I did. I was like, oh, unfair, But it actually was a gravy. Both of them got a serving of gravy, and they just were dipping all that gravy. And I thought, a bowl full of gravy, and I'm not judging, but I just thought, oh, that breaks my heart, like you don't even think about what you're putting in your body and stuff. You just are kind of mindless and stuff. So it's been interesting watching different people eat, and then even just watching myself, like, okay, like I don't really care to eat different foods anymore because the palate's just not even there. Like, no desire. So it's kind of interesting.
Yeah, very interesting. You bring up a couple of very uh, good points. Mindless. I love that you use the word mindless. And being mindful in how we eat is a big help to eating more healthy, and paying attention to what we eat and what's around us. Excellent point.
I would definitely say this surgery, if anybody is even on the fence post for it, I wouldn't say it was a breeze, but wow, post-operative, pre-operative, you learn so much about yourself, about what you're capable of doing and stuff. Um, Post-op, I felt like I recovered. I was really worried about my recovery because I thought, oh, I'm going to be, because you read all these Oh, I've had a bowel blockage or out. I've had, like DVTs, whatever. And so I'm like, oh snap, I'm not gonna make this. So- and then I was like, when I got released from you, I was like, oh, let me get out of this hospital. Let's go home. So I tried to run home. No, just kidding. But yeah, I was really surprised because I'm like, if you just really follow the guidelines, I mean, we're not reinventing the wheel by any means. Like you guys have really thought this through on your ounces drank. And, if you kind of just really focus on that and just focus kind of almost like a selfish self-care for a little bit, I feel like you recover better. I know there's other incidentals and stuff with different people healing and recovering and stuff, but I was really shocked like on how much like every week I was like, oh, this isn't as bad as I thought it would be. I kind of mentally psyched myself out. So I think people need to not always read about the doom and gloom because I mean there is incidentals with any procedure you do and stuff, but
And
ultimately
quite
just
honestly, we probably contribute to that because we sit down and we talk about the risks, largely to make sure people are educated and know what the possibilities are. But fortunately, those risks are small and most people go through it very well. So that's a good point. And your reaction is very normal. Did an operation yesterday and, patient was very nervous about, what was going to happen. And despite being through all education, you usually get to that point finally, and it can be nerve wracking. So,
yes, for sure. For sure.
if you had to describe or define one part of this process that has been the hardest for you, what would that be?
Definitely. I can't remember what the phase numbers are because it feels like it's been centuries ago, even though it hasn't. Um, so correct me when I'm wrong, but if it's phase 2 or stage 2 or 3, where you start to move off of like the like liquids into the pure, like almost like a yogurt, like whatever stage that is, like the yogurts and the like ricotta cheese, like the soft food phase, that one was the hardest. And honestly, the reason it was is texture. Oh my gosh, that was horrible. I love yogurt and I love like, well, actually, I still can't eat ricotta cheese because I tried this ricotta bake that I've seen on a bariatric website and I was like, oh, I think I'm gonna die. But it was honestly texture. Textures was a hard thing for me. And then the other hard stage for me is for 2 weeks prior, I had to go on a liquid diet, to start shrinking my liver and such. The only thing hard about that, because I still made food for my family and stuff, but I had already been in that mindset of like, okay, we're here, like, time to pony up, it was interesting because like, I don't remember what I was making, but I remember like it was in the saucepan and I wanted to test the temperature or like the flavor. And I'm like, oh, like I can't do that yet, because I mean, technically I probably could have, but I didn't. Do you know what I'm saying? So I wanted to be as
Right.
clean as possible because I didn't want you to go in and be like, oh, she's not healthy enough. Shut her up. Close her back up. So, but that was kind of weird is that like transition and stuff between each phase and like even taking like your first sip of water post-operatively, like how different things feel, like even just the swallowing and stuff and like the digestion and kind of just mindfully sitting down and be like, okay, take 20 bites or like chew 20 times so you're really working down the food for you and stuff. But I would say just the different phases, just because for me, texture is a huge thing. And that was horrible. So finally, when you told me I could have vegetables, I was the happiest person in the world that day.
That's great. Yes, for those who don't understand the process, basically we go through this diet ramping up largely just to protect the pouch. We're trying to allow things to heal, and it's probably not the best from a nutritional standpoint, but trying to maximize what nutrition we can get with foods that will be kind to the pouch while it's healing.
Yes.
Do you mind sharing with us kind of your numbers?
So my heaviest, and I kind of started my weight loss before I met you and stuff, but My heaviest, I was at 314 pounds, which that feels like a lifetime ago. I am currently at 272. I didn't ever really have a like ideal body weight, like when I first met you guys and your team and stuff. Um, but at first, I cannot think of your cute nurse practitioner, the one that's on pre-op.
Sophia?
No, not Sophia, the other one.
Uh,
She's
Lisa?
like, I think so. I think,
Cindy?
oh, I can't remember now. Now I feel really bad. She's really cute. Well, all of them are really cute, actually. But, anyways, and I remember them saying, like, okay, you'll kind of like, because you guys have like that algorithm and stuff for like, this is your age, your height and stuff, and this is kind of where you're going to be. And I'm like, I don't know if you guys are just being super polite and feeding me a line of positiveness or what, but I was shocked.
Um, Now, I think your numbers that you showed me a little bit earlier were a little bit off. So it started at 314 and now you're 172? Congratulations on that. That's phenomenal.
A little bit more than 30 pounds.
It's like, yeah, I'm pretty sure she did better than that. And especially if we were telling her she was within a couple of pounds of the
Yeah.
projection. So, great. All right. Well, what last things would you like to share?
Enjoy the journey. Sometimes you'll be frustrated. Sometimes you'll be overly excited. Sometimes you'll be extremely nervous and stuff. But honestly, it's a beautiful journey from start to finish. Sometimes it might seem long and daunting and stuff. I think you guys have reinforced and said multiple times, like, this isn't a quick fix and stuff, and this is a forever lifestyle change, and it's been a great lifestyle. It really, it's not been difficult. You guys are amazing with your knowledge and with your guidance, and you answer every question perfectly and stuff, but just enjoy what you're learning and stuff, and really ultimately love yourself. Like, this is very selfish and independent decision to make for bariatric surgery, I think, but I think it affects so many people in your life around you that it is a good, selfish, but also self-caring and self-healing process. So
Yeah, that's beautiful advice. I think you've alluded to this throughout our conversation, but it's really about helping people be healthier. And, using the term selfish sometimes might be thought of derogatorily, but it's self-improvement so that, you can take care of those around you and bless the lives of those around you. So really just trying to put yourself in the best position possible.
yeah, 100%.
Well, thank you very much. I appreciate you spending your time with me this afternoon.
Well, thank you for everything that you and your team have done. I really appreciate you guys.
Thank you again to Jennifer Peterson for spending some time with us. I really liked some of the points she brought up, particularly being mindful about when we eat, paying attention to what we're eating and how long it's taking us to eat, and just really making an effort that way is a good health practice. And then her emphasis at the end to just love yourself and take care of yourself, and if that involves surgery, then that you're using that step to be healthier, and which will allow you to reach out and bless the lives of others more.
Please take a moment to subscribe, rate, and review our podcast. It will help us reach more people with these amazing stories. I also have a YouTube channel where you can see this video, as well as several other videos about surgical weight loss, general surgery, and robotic surgery. Join us next time for another amazing story.